Hello, my fellow gnomes, and welcome to another Doors episode. Now, so far we've got these fairly nicely decorated rooms, but there aren't any furnishings. It needs some furniture. If we want to be able to hide items inside, right, some cupboards you can open up. So that's what we're going to be doing in this episode. So first things first, I'm going to go and create a piece of furniture. Now I'm going to make sure that it fits a certain size. Now I'll show you why in a minute. But if I turn on the orientation indicator, make sure the front is facing forwards. And I'm just going to resize this to the size I want it. So I'm going to make it 3.5 studs wide, 2.5 studs deep, and 3 studs high, just like so. This can be any size, but make sure that once you've chosen it, it is consistent. And we're going to name this our template drawer. And what we're going to do is we're going to place this in every location that we want to have a chest of drawers, much like we did with our doors. We didn't go and place this this door model in every single room here and here and here, did we? We just used these white templates. So we're going to do a similar thing with this. So with this drawer template, we're going to we'll set the transparency to 0.5 or something, and we'll make sure that can collide, can query, can touch are all disabled. We'll keep it anchored though, and then what we're going to do is we'll move it into position. So I'm going to go to my corridor here, and I'll rotate it, and I'm going to put it, well, I'm going to put it against the wall, something like that. Okay, there we go. So it's not colliding with anything. And we're going to have 1, maybe 2, right? We can duplicate them, right? And we can put some on the other side and move them around. And so once we've done a couple, we're then going to group them all together, select them all. You can use Control-Alt-G, which creates a folder. And this folder we're going to name Furniture, right? So it's all one set of things. And we're going to put this furniture folder inside this room. So this is the long corridor room. I'll click and drag the furniture into that room. You see I've already got some other organization going on. I've got all my lamps grouped together, all my walls, ceilings, but most importantly, those entrance and exit parts. So I've got my furniture here, and I'm going to do the same thing now for every room, so that every room has got these furniture parts. Let's make it red so it's a bit easier to see. Now, as well as a template for a drawer, I also want to have a desk as well. So the desk is going to be pretty similar, but it's just going to be a bit longer. So we'll make this, how about 10 studs wide should be a good size. And oh, we've got that named template drawer as well. So we'll have to rename this one desk. And we'll just name all of these drawer actually rather than template drawer. That was a bit of a mouthful. So we've got a desk unit and we've got a drawer unit. And I'm just going to fit these now in all of the rooms where I want my furniture to be. So I'll come back once I've done that. Okay, there we go. So we've got all our red little boxes in here. And if I come out, you can see we've got them in every room. This is where all our furniture is going to go. And all of these, if I was to click on them, you can see this is the left snake room. Inside of it was a furniture folder. And then we've got desk, drawer. And not every folder, not every room, of course, has the furniture folder, say the upstairs and downstairs. I haven't bothered putting any furniture in them at all. So that hasn't even got a furniture folder. But the same for all the other ones, they've all got furniture. Even the art gallery, look, has got a little furniture section. So now that we've got all these templates set up, let's actually go and build some furniture and make sure it's the same size as the templates we've just created. And here we go. I now have a chest of drawers. And we can see it's exactly the same size as the template. If I was to move it over and make sure it lined up, there we go. You can see it's exactly the same size, perfectly fits into those dimensions of 3.5 by 3 by 2.5. And we've got these little drawers. It's pretty basic, but it's not a bad little model. So since we've got two of these, we're going to need to set these up. So I'll just delete the one at the top, and then we can set up the one at the bottom. So we'll select all the parts. It's got a front part. It's got a little knob at the front, bottom part, and all these side parts. And if we just drag this thing out so we can actually see the thing properly. Now, the bottom part is the only one we're really going to care about. So make sure that the orientation indicator on that is pointing forwards, which it is. Super. And we'll name it to draw. And we also want to make sure that all of these draw parts are unanchored. Okay. With the exception of the draw part itself. So we'll anchor this, and we're going to then weld all the other items to it. So if we select them all and we go to the model tab, create, and click to create a weld. And if we click constraint details, draw on top, we should, and show weld, sorry, we should then see all these little welds joining everything together. Okay. And so there we go. We know that everything is set up. And we can then move this back in if we want. So we can move it back into the little chest of drawers. And then we can duplicate that thing and drag it back up. And we'll turn off the welds. We don't need them any longer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this drawer template that we created. Move that into position there. And we'll set the transparency to 1. And then we're going to select the whole thing, Control G, group it together. We'll call it draw. And then that draw part, the template part, we're going to name that primary. And then we're going to set the draw's primary part equal to that primary that we just created. So then we should see this gray outline. And the gray outline perfectly matches up with our red box. And we're going to use that to position it into all of those places we have just created. And then we're going to do the same for our desk as well. So we can pretty easily create a desk from 2 drawers. So if we just duplicate this, and we can have 2 drawers, and then we can draw a line in between. Obviously, we'll delete the primary, and we'll do something like that. And we have a desk unit, which is exactly, again, it's the same size. We can line that up perfectly. There we go. It's 10 studs. So we can bring this part into the model. And we'll do the same thing. Set the transparency to 1, and we'll name it primary. And we'll set the primary part of the desk to that part. There we go. So we've got a drawer and we've got a desk, and they perfectly match up with our sizes. So now it's finally time to do some scripting. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into server script service. We've got our server script, we've got our room script, and inside of the room, we're going to create a new module script that we're going to simply call furniture. And then inside of our room script, obviously we'll need to get this module. So if we open up the room one, and at the very top, we can say local furniture equals require script.furniture. And just like when we were calling the door.new function, we're going to do something very similar here, where we're going to create some new furniture for ourselves. So let's head back into that furniture script. We'll name the module to furniture. And of course, we'll return the furniture when we're done. But instead of creating just a furniture.new function, we're going to create a furniture.furnishRoom function, because we've got multiple pieces of furniture we want to add. So this is going to have the room model sent to it as an argument. And then we're going to have to check if that room model, if it actually contains a furniture folder. Because if we remember, some of these models, such as our upstairs one, doesn't actually have a furniture model in it at all. We don't want to spawn any furniture. So we're going to check if the room model, find first child furniture, if it contains furniture, then we're going to look for those templates. So the templates are the room model dot the furniture folder, and then we're going to get the children. So we're going to create a table of all the contents, and then we're going to cycle through them using a for loop. So for I part in I pairs templates do, and then we're going to call our furniture.new function. So function furniture.new, and that will have the template that we're going to place it at and the room model as well. So then we'll call this function furniture.new on line 11 here, and we will send it the part and the room model. So the furniture model is going to be equal to whatever was the name of that template part. Because if you remember, we have named these parts desk and drawer. So to keep things organized rather than just having them straight in the workspace, it would probably help if we selected both of these and put these in a folder. So we've got a rooms folder with all our rooms inside of, and now we're going to have a furniture folder, which is just going to contain a desk and a drawer. And so now we can say workspace dot furniture, and we'll try and find first child with the template dot name. So if that furniture model does exist, then we're going to create a copy of it and place it into that template. So we can say that the furniture model is now going to equal a clone of itself. So we want to copy it, right? We'll clone it. And then we want to position it into the world. So we use the pivot to function, pivot to, and we want to put it in the same position as the template. So template.cframe. And then once we've done that, well, we can simply go ahead and say furniture model.parent equals the same parent as the template was inside of. And then, seeing as we're done with the template, we can go ahead and destroy it. So once we've done that, we just need to make sure we're calling this function from the room module. So if we go into the room module, and just above the door, we're going to call furniture.furnish room, and we will provide the new room. So that's everything done. Let's go ahead and we can click play. We will load in. You can see I've redesigned the beautiful start room. Of course, we're still keeping it perfectly out of theme with the rest of the place. And if we walk in here, there we go. We've got our furniture. We've got our chest of drawers over here. We've got our desk unit. And they're all perfectly in the templates as we wanted them. And we can keep moving through the rooms. And we can see our furniture is in each of them. But obviously we can't interact with them or anything, which is rather boring. So that's what we're going to do next. So if we hit stop, and we're going to now create a way of opening them. And to do this, we're going to use a proximity prompt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through first of all and locate all of the drawers. Because this one, our chest of drawers just has 2 drawers, whereas our desk has 4. So to organize this a little bit, let's just take the desk and we'll select all the drawers, select all of them, and we'll put these into a folder named drawers. So we have them all in one place. And we'll do the same thing with the chest of drawers as well. Select both these drawers and put them in a folder named drawers. There we go. And so once we've done that, we can then, from our furniture script, we can then loop through each of those drawers. So let's check if the furniture model contains, find first child, if it contains the drawers folder, then we're going to loop through them. So for I draw in I pairs furniture model dot drawers get children, get that table, do, and we're going to use some attributes to keep track of whether they've been opened or not. So we'll set draw, set attribute, and the first attribute open. Initially, that's going to be false because it's closed. And then we're going to create another attribute that we're going to call moving to keep track of whether it's moving or not. Pretty self-explanatory. And then we're going to create our proximity prompt. So local prompt equals instance.new proximity prompt. And then we're just going to set a few settings. So the prompt's action text, we want to be blank. So we're going to use an empty string. The prompt.max activation distance, I think it defaults to like 10 or so, but we're going to have it slightly less at 5. And then we're going to set the prompt.parent equal to, and we want it to be inside of the drawer. But if we do that, it's going to be directly in the middle of the drawer, right? If we put a proximity prompt right in there, well, we're not going to be able to see the proximity prompt. So to help us, we're going to use some attachment points. So if we go to the top on the model tab and we click create and we click attachment, we can add an attachment. We can get it nice and perfectly centered into the middle. So we're going to click one in the middle and then we're going to click again. So we should now have 2 attachments like so. If I have my constraint details visible, we'll be able to see them. And this first one in the middle, we're going to name content, we could name it, or we could name it, we'll name it location. This is where we'll be spawning items in. And the second one, we'll name toggle, because that's whether we're going to interact with it and move it in or out. Toggle the opening of the drawer. Let's just position this so that it's roughly just in front of the handle. Something like that I think will look nicely. And we can move these about a bit just if we want to make sure it's all centered. But I think it was probably just about good enough where it was. So now I've got those 2 attachment points. Make sure we copy those into the other drawers. So I'll paste these in down here. And then obviously I'll need to go over to my desk and do the same thing. Paste one into each of them. There we go. So now we've got our attachments. We can then set this from the script. So we'll set the proximity prompt to be inside of the drawer.toggle, which was the name of our attachment. And before we do anything else, if we now hit play, we can just check if that's working. And straight away, oh no, look, we've got an error here. Attempt to index nil with children. What's going on? So line 11, and actually that's a typo on my point. I don't want to be furniture. That's the name of the module, isn't it? I want furniture model. There we go. That's why it's good to keep testing and keep your output window open. So there we go. We've got no errors. And if I go over to these chest of drawers, we should now see, that's it. We see little E's appearing on them. Depending on which one I'm closest to, it will highlight. And it's going to be positioned exactly where you put your attachment to. So if you don't like the positioning of these, you can move that attachment point and it will appear in a different location. But we can see we have all the attachments, but obviously if I click E, nothing's going to happen just yet because we haven't programmed that in. So let's hit stop. And now we're going to go and we're going to react to it. So we can do that using the prompt.triggered function. And we'll connect that, the event, and we'll connect that to a function. And we're going to check, first of all, if draw, and we'll check the attribute. So get attribute, and we'll see if it's already moving. Because if it's already moving, we want to wait until it's finished moving till we move it again. So if that equals to false, then we will open it. So let's create a new function. Function furniture dot open drawer, and that will have the drawer as a parameter to it. So then we can call this function from this line in here, and then let's just go ahead and program this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to change that moving attribute from false to true, because now we're about to start moving it. And then we're going to check whether it's currently open or closed. So local is open equal to draw will get get the attribute that we just created. So initially, obviously this is going to be equal to false. We're going to check what it's currently equal to. And then we're also going to have a direction variable. So local direction is going to either equal 1 or -1, depending on whether we're opening or closing. So if it is open, then we'll say is open and 1. So if it is open, then it's going to be equal to 1. Or it will be -1. This is a sort of like doing an if statement all on one line while assigning a variable. You might not have seen this before, but it's quite a handy way of packing something onto one line rather than breaking it down into multiple steps. So then we'll create our desired C-frame for this part. So the local C-frame is going to be equal to the draw.cframe, and we're going to multiply that. So we're going to add to it. So cframe.new, and we don't want to change the X or the Y direction, but we do want to change the Z direction. Now, seeing as mine desk or chest of drawer, if you remember, it is exactly 2.5 studs deep. So I want to move it not 2.5 studs because that I think would come out too far. So we'll just move it some of the way 1.5 studs. And then I'm going to multiply that by the direction value. So it'll either be moving out 1.5 or -1.5. And then we're going to set up a tween. So let's make sure we're using tween service. At the top, local tween service equals game get service tween service. And so now we can create our draw tween service, create the object, which is the draw. And then again, tween info, we'll just keep it very simple. And we'll just have a basic 0.5 second tween. And then the thing we want to tween inside those curly brackets inside a table, we want to set the C frame equal to the C frame value we've created. Notice that this is capital C, capital F. It turns light blue because that's a keyword, whereas mine is just, it's all lowercase for my variable. If I'd spelt this with a CF, it wouldn't work. That would cause an error. So pay attention there. And so then I can just say draw tween, and I tell the tween to play. And then I can wait until it's finished. So dot completed, wait. And then I'm going to set those attributes. So we'll set the moving attribute. Since we've finished, we set it to false. And then I'm also going to set the moving, sorry, not the moving, the open one. So we're going to set open, not to false, but the opposite of what it was at the start. So we can use this isOpen variable, and we can simply say not isOpen. So that will get us the opposite of whatever it was. So let's hit play and see if that's working. In we go, and we can interact with this one. If we click it with our mouse, there we go, it slides out, and it slides back in again. We can use the E key as well. There we go. And this should work on all of them. Fantastic. It is a little bit lackluster though, because we haven't got any sound. So if we wanted to add sound, that's easy enough. We just hit stop. Get your sound object and we'll place it into each of these drawers. So I've got one called move, and I'm going to copy and paste that into each of the drawers. So it's inside the chest of drawers and the desk as well. We want to make sure we have that sound in each of them. There we go. It's called move with a capital M. So all we have to do from our furniture script is just before we start the tween, let's say draw.move play. And so now when we play the game and we find our drawers, and if we go and open them, there we go, a little bit of realism. Now, in the next episode, we're going to add some items to actually hide in the drawers, because at the moment, well, there's not really any point to these because all of the doors open up anyway, and we've not got anything very interesting to find in them. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.